What's up, everyone? Welcome to the July 1st edition of DraftKings Tournament Plays presented by PrizePicks. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. You can follow me on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And as a reminder, you get one free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, as well as a 100% first deposit bonus up to $100 on your first deposit. If you sign up, use the code AWESOMO at PrizePicks and make a deposit. We have a 10-game MLB slate tonight, at least right now. There are a couple of games that have weather concerns, but we're going to take a look at 3 of the top tournament stacks and 3 of the top tournament pitchers using the top stacks tool and the top pitchers tool on the Stokastic.com website. Starting with the top 3 stacks, number 3, the Seattle Mariners are taking on James Kaprielian tonight in Seattle. We know there will be no J.P. Crawford for the Mariners, but as of right now, expecting that they will have Julio Rodriguez and will have Jesse Winker. Kaprielian has certainly struggled this year. He has only struck out 15.8% of hitters with a 5.32 xFIP, while allowing 1.9 home runs per 9 innings. There are a lot of cheap bats in the Mariners lineup, and then you also have power, particularly with Rodriguez and Winker, assuming that they are at the top. The Mariners are projected for about 5% ownership with a 6% chance of being the top scoring stack. Number 2, the New York Mets are taking on Glenn Otto tonight in New York. The Mets active roster has a 114 WRC plus and a 143 ISO. Otto has only struck out 18.2% of hitters this year with a 5.12 xFIP. He's also allowed 1.06 home runs per 9 innings. The Mets have a 5.3 implied run total. They're projected for 5% ownership with a 7% chance of being the top scoring stack. And number 1, the New York Yankees taking on Aaron Savali tonight in Cleveland. This game does have weather concerns, so be sure to keep an eye on that. But for now, assuming that this game goes, they do look like the top tournament stack. Savali has struck out 20.9% of hitters this year, 4.52 xFIP for the right-hander, and 1.35 home runs per 9 innings allowed. The Yankees' active roster has the second best WRC plus, 118. They have a 198 ISO, a 5.1 implied run total. They're only projected for about 6% ownership with a 9% chance of being the top scoring stack. Now looking at the top 3 tournament pitchers, number 3, Joe Ryan, projected for 11% ownership with a 12% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. He's $8,800 taking on the Baltimore Orioles tonight in Minnesota. The Orioles have a 3.6 implied run total. Ryan has been mediocre overall this year. He's only struck out 21.6% of hitters. He has a 4.65 xFIP, but there are strikeouts to be had in the Baltimore lineup, and Ryan has been much better against right-handed hitters than left-handed hitters. So that is one thing to keep an eye on when we get the Orioles lineup. It hasn't been released yet, but so far this season, Ryan has allowed a lot of power to lefties, but he's also only struck out 15% of lefties, whereas he struck out 27% of righties. So the makeup of this Baltimore lineup will ultimately determine exactly how comfortable I am with Ryan, but one way or the other, he does have upside here. The Orioles do have strikeouts in their lineup. If he's able to navigate his way through Mullins, Santander, and Rutschman from the left side, he should be able to have success against the rest of the lineup. But as usual, it's kind of the same caveat that we've been saying with the Orioles for a while now. Even though there are strikeouts, it is a weak bottom of the order. You do have a dangerous 1 through 6 here, assuming that they run out their normal lineup. So not the safest spot for Ryan. I don't think it's quite as safe as that implied run total implies, but still not getting much ownership and still certainly has a path to success. Number 2, Blake Snell, projected for 6% ownership with a 13% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. He has a really difficult matchup tonight against the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers active roster has a 110 WRC plus, also has only struck out 21.7% of the time. In addition, it's likely that they're going to have a very right-handed lineup. Snell has only struck out 22.6% of righties compared to 31.3% of lefties this year. All of that being said, he is only $8,600. We know the immense talent that he has. He's been having trouble harnessing it consistently this year with a 4.35 xFIP, but there is legitimate strikeout upside for him when he's on top of his game. And number 1, Garrett Cole facing the Cleveland Guardians. Mentioned earlier, there are weather concerns in this game, but right now we have Cole projected for about 23% ownership with a 24% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. It's a very difficult strikeout matchup as the Guardians' active roster has only struck out 17.2% of the time with a 105 WRC plus so far this season. But Cole has struck out 31.8% of hitters with a 2.83 xFIP. He's one of the most talented pitchers on any slate that he is on, and he's projected for only about half the ownership of similarly talented Corbin Burnes tonight. Burnes does have the better matchup, but shouldn't be twice as popular as Cole. So to recap, the top 3 tournament stacks: number 3, the Seattle Mariners; number 2, the New York Mets; number 1, the New York Yankees. And the top 3 tournament pitchers: number 3, Joe Ryan; number 2, Blake Snell; and number 1,